Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, the Yankees hit with another injury, kind of a little bit bizarre one. This time, Austin Wells, the struggling catcher, admitting now that he's been suffering headaches lately. So now he is on the 10-day IL, diagnosed what they call cervical headaches. Not just a regular headache, but a cervical headache, which is maybe some good news for Yankee fans. Again, the catching position, not great for the Yankees. Obviously, you worry about Wells' health there, but Yankees get a little bit of a turbulent cycle with some catches there, so we'll get you caught up on that since the last YouTube episode. The Yankees making some decisions at the catching position, which, if you go back and watch the episode, I kind of said they did with JC Escobar, but as soon as he's gone, he's right back. I know there's a lot of confusion going on, but we'll get you caught up on the whole thing and a little bit more insight on Judge and his injury. Again, not going to pat myself on the back, but right again there. Injury coming from one of his diving plays, but we'll kind of focus on his comments on that. And you might have seen Soto walking to first base, kind of disgracefully getting thrown out on a ground ball to second base. Now, address the issue there, just because obviously, Soto, he was with the Yankees, went to the Mets there, so we kind of a little bad blood with him a little bit. So an opportunity maybe to poke fun with him, but maybe I will defend him a little bit, even though I really don't want to there. So got a lot of stuff for you, major Yankee stuff, but again, a little Mets stuff as well, because why not? So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And as I said before, the YouTube version of the show, if you're not sure what you want to do right now, just take 2 seconds, go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe there as well. So we knew something was going to happen with the Yankee catching position, even out of the gate, start the season. Everyone was like, how can you have 2 left-handed catches there, which I really didn't think was a big deal. Again, I understand you want to not give up on that bat, but the catching position, once in a while you get a Mike Piazza, okay, once in a while you get a Pudge Rodriguez, but the catching position, your main job is just play good defense and, just don't be a total disgrace. So unfortunately, Wells hasn't been a good season at all. We figured you would put up with his 200 batting average or 210 batting average, as long as you're hitting the dingers once in a while. He wasn't even doing that. 166 batting average with 4 home runs. And again, there's just been a miserable season for him. And again, JC Escobar, not much better. And I kind of mentioned, look, the Yankees were probably going to have to make some sort of upgrade at some point. It wasn't like something that needed to happen tomorrow with some sort of dire need, but you figured, at some point something was going to happen. Now, I didn't think in any way, in any fashion, they would do anything with Austin Wells, even with his bad numbers. I just think they like his defense, which, again, he is a good blocker. He is, he does frame Wells. And, again, the pitching staff has gotten off to a really good start this season. I just don't think the Yankees wanted to tinker with that. And I know that people throwing around, even Michael Kay saying you got to put Ben Rice behind the plate. I don't like that at all. With the season he's having, I'd rather have him at first base. Maybe it's something you could think about, ponder it once you get close to the end of the season. Maybe something for the playoffs. You want to give yourself a little bit more of a loaded lineup. I don't know. Maybe how you integrate that in a little bit. But I do not want him during these summer months go behind the plate, taking foul balls off his knees and his legs and his thumbs and getting hit in the head with with foul tips, which maybe would happen to Austin Wells, and getting concussions. Rice is doing well right now. I'd rather just keep him at first base, maybe an occasional DH, get him off his feet. That's it. I don't want to take him with that. So, with that being said, what move can you make? It would have to be something with the backup, and that would be with JC Escobar. And that's, I figure, what would happen. That's what did happen. The Yankees optioning JC Escobar down to AAA and bringing up Ali Sanchez. Not that he's tearing it up down there in AAA, but reason being, you got to do something, A, and B, at least get a right-handed bat at the catching position. So even if he's doing awful as well when he comes up, at least it's not just another left-hander behind the plate there. So Ali Sanchez, quick tail of tape on him. Not that he was doing tremendous down there. In 40 games for AAA, he was hitting .227, 6 home runs, 11 RBIs with a .702 OPS, which, again, it's not Mike Piazza 1992, but at least it was better than you were getting from either Wells or JC Escobar at that point. So, you just had made a move. And just a couple of days later, I mentioned after that, the Friday night game opening against Boston, Wells going up to Boone, telling him that obviously he couldn't start the game. Again, similarly, he had this headache. They did an MRI examination. It looks like he had no concussion, but actually he's going to go over further testing to see if they could get a little deeper issue into that. So we've seen this with Anthony Rizzo. Initially they said he was fine there, and then of course a couple months later, he had a concussion. So heard all mixed things about Austin Wells. One of them, Boone, saying that obviously he was trying to go to left field too much. That's what it had to do with his poor hitting performance. Maybe it was kind of mixed up a little bit. Late on the fastball, but early on the breaking ball. But at the end of the day, maybe it's just something that maybe it's took a foul ball off his head early on and just never fully recovered that. Man, it's possible. I don't know how you do that, but the catching position where catching, like 200, 150 or 200 pitches a game there, and you figure you have to be sharp to do that. But maybe he took a foul ball off the head, and just same thing with Judge. We're wondering what's wrong with Judge a little bit. Like, he's hitting 240, 250. This is not like Judge, and then voila, you realize, oh wait, he has a fractured rib. So it kind of explains it. We don't know that's the reason for Austin Wells, poor performance, so far in 2026, but it could be. But nevertheless, he's going to be placed on the 10-day IL, and now that they need a catcher, bring up JC Escarra. So he went down to AAA, maybe barely put his car keys on the kitchen counter there. Now, next thing you know, he has come right back up. So recalling JC Escarra. So now, at least for the near future, you can have Escarra and Sanchez behind the plate for the Yankees. Not that you're thrilled with that, but at least for the near future. And I think it could even be long because, they're same thing. They always say 10-day IL, and then next thing the guy's gone for a month. I think Stanton's still on his 10-day IL, and that was like almost 2 months ago. So again, they said right now it's not a concussion, but who knows what this test is going to show up. So we'll kind of wait and see on that one. And getting to the Judge injury, spoke to reporters about it, and kind of as I guess, we see him all this time making those big diving plays, the big guy, and even if you make the play, it's a lot of body weight. You're slamming down on your body in the ground there, and well, you can't be shocked when you break a bone or crack something. Judge actually pinpoints it back to late April, the series in Houston. It was a pop-up between Jazz and Judge. I think Judge dove, but Jazz actually caught the ball, and Judge feeling that at that point that's where actually injured it. So, we kind of figured this. I mean, he's been playing injured for a while, which kind of makes sense why he's put up respectable numbers for a normal, really good player. But again, he's an MVP out of this world player. His numbers for 2026 were kind of not bad, but under par, at least for him. And it kind of explains it. He's probably been playing for a month or so with this condition, not 100%. So kind of explains everything. Kind of we figured that would happen. So for the Yankees right now, the middle game against Boston was rained out, and actually that's to their benefit. That's going to be yet another doubleheader pushed back to August 29th. And actually, it's almost good news for the Yankees. You should push all these games back to August, September, when hopefully at that point Judge is back with the team. Again, this Yankee team right now, you'd rather not play games in a way, just because they're not 100% without Judge. And we'll see if pitching maybe has a little blip in the screen now that the main receiver, Wells, is not there. Now, Scar is probably going to be the main horse, just because he's probably worked a lot, but we'll see how the Boone shakes that out there. But at least now you have a right-handed bat at the catcher position. And I guess maybe we'll close it out with Juan Soto. Again, we'll make this a New York episode as the Knicks, in the midst of their championship run. So now, of course, you saw the play against the Padres. Again, the Mets actually winning 2 out of 3 in that series against the struggling Padres team. But, of course, the ground ball to second base, and Soto just, it was more like, it's not even a jog. It was like less than a jog. It was like just a little bit more of a walk to first base. Unfortunately, the second baseman bobbled the ball a little bit. So even if he ran like a mediocre, like you're giving up on this play, just a mediocre, like, yeah, I know I grounded out, you still would have beat out the throw there. But he was going so slow that even the second baseman bobbled the ball as long as he did, able to pick it up, throw to first base, and Soto embarrassingly called out at first base there. And of course now, you get the usual feedback you get from that. You have this big player with the $750 million contract. You got your team on last place there, and you're not hustling. And it's just a really, really bad look for Juan Soto. And this is the same Juan Soto who, after the World Series, the Yankees, right after the locker room, he was like, all right, well, I'm a free agent now. No concern, no care. And you've heard some talk. I think Boomer and Gio, if you listen to that morning show, had the conversation. Does Soto really, really care about this Mets team, or is he just worried about his own stats there? So, that whole debate there. And then when you see a play like that, well, hey, and kind of maybe reminisces a little bit of Robinson Cano, just kind of, jaking at the first base there on ground outs. Now, I'm going to defend Soto just a little bit. We know he's missed a ton of time. Again, he was doing some leg injuries as well there. And if this team's going to have any prayer, any chance of making something of the season, which right now they're in last place, is probably not going to happen. And of course, them losing Clay Holmes and having Lindor still dealing with his issue, probably not going to happen. But nevertheless, if the Mets were going to have any prayer this season, they kind of need Juan Soto healthy. And again, he's had this leg injury. Is it worth him busting it, or maybe going a little bit harder than he should to first base there, and then maybe getting, hurt, re-injuring himself, and then this team is completely gone? That's the debate there. I don't know. I mean, you could say part of it's him just being lazy and overplayed player who doesn't care really about the team, anything like that. On the other hand, does he want to bust it down to first base, possibly re-injure something, and now, great, you're safe at first, but now maybe you have to go on the IL for 3 weeks. I don't know why, but I'm actually going to defend Soto a little bit on that one. And just look what Judge is going through right now with Stanton, us with Stanton. Imagine, Giancarlo Stanton, we know with him, they tell him, don't run. If you're on the bases, whatever, just walk. We don't need you injured. Is Soto giving those same directions? I don't know there. But in some cases, you got to understand why a player is not going to bust it. It's a bad look. But overall, I just think it's him just not wanting to. Maybe he feels something and he just doesn't want to pull it. Maybe has a little Charlie horse as he's in the batter's box. All right, he finishes out the at-bat. I'm not going to run and maybe tweak this further. Now, next thing you know, he's gone for 3 weeks. And you get out to the Mets have a prayer anyway. But with him out of lineup, they super don't have a prayer. So I'm just going to give him a little benefit of the doubt, even though I shouldn't there, and it's a bad look. And again, the Mets are such a bad position that the Yankees are doing great with their injuries. But nevertheless, I'm going to give Soto just a little benefit of the doubt on that one. But it was gross, and of course, it's actually enjoyable to see. And even though Met fans are probably just going to not give him that benefit of the doubt and rip on him, so I don't mind seeing that at all. And as for the Yankees, this is kind of the last leg I mentioned about that 15-game stretch. I think the Yankees could have got back themselves into it. Now, I thought that it was going to include Judge getting hot. Well, that's not going to be the case because we know Judge, with the injury revealed, and obviously he's going to be out for a couple of months at least there. But the Yankees were able to pick themselves up by the bootstraps, sweeping Kansas City, taking 2 out of 3 against the Athletics. Now, they stumble a little bit at home against Cleveland, get a little bit lucky with Boston. I think I'd rather have them rain out and just push those games back a little bit for later part in the year. Split with Boston. Now you have this 4-game sense against the Guardians, which kind of owe them one. Again, they kind of came in here and slapped the Yankees around a little bit, taking 2 out of 3, so maybe the Yankees owe them one. So we'll see how that all works out there. But more importantly was the standings. Now, in addition to the Yankees, on this little 15-game stretch, playing a little bit slightly better than they were beforehand, Tampa has completely kind of stumbled big time there with the fact where the Yankees at least caught up to them division-wise. Now, the Yankees with a record of 38-26, Tampa mathematically is ahead of the Yankees, but essentially they're both tied for first place. So right now, again, you would take that, again, with all the problems you have with Judge and, maybe, obviously, at least had a good bounce back game against Boston there, but, both him and Cole getting slapped around a little bit against the Guardians there. Now you have this Wells injury. You kind of, wondering what's going on with this team. But all that being said, Yankees and Tampa tied. And again, right now, you look at this up and down this American League, not really great teams there. So again, even if the Yankees, as I said before in the previous episode here on the audio podcast, if they could just hold it together, hold down the fort, and again, if Judge can find his way back, probably going to be sometime maybe July, maybe August. Knowing the American League seems like some sort of beast where if the Yankees fall behind, they're done. So they can just hover around here and then all get healthy later on. Again, still an opportunity for the Yankees to do something special this season. So that's the episode. We'll catch you next time.